Hi, and welcome to Origin of Concepts. And in this episode, we will talk about Shu from ancient Egypt. Shu is the ancient Egyptian god of air, wind, and dry atmosphere, representing the space between the earth and the sky. As a primordial deity of the Ennead of Heliopolis, he was created by Atum or Ra, and alongside his wife and twin sister Tefnut, he separated their children, Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky, to make space for the sky and the earth. That sounds complicated. But it is not that sky and earth most people think of, what we look up at every day, but the sky in the Milky Way center. So let's take a look at it. Here we got it. Let's start with some etymology, what the word means. Shu means the void, the nothing, so to speak, or he who rises up and holding something. And it's no secret any longer that Shu is the striped shadow in the Milky Way center, and his lifted arms is the crossing shadow in the center of the disk. And let me draw it for you. Here we got the striped shadow, which in 99% of all myth is the body of the hero, so to speak. And in here we got like a special shadow. I call it the X. X marks the spot, so that's the X. The crossing point. You know what I mean. And this is he's standing, holding his hand up. And Shu is member of the Ennead, the nine first gods in some of the Egyptian creation stories. This is This is from Heliopolis, which is basically the wrong name for that town, but I'll get into that in another video. He is the nine, or the Ennead is of course the nine stripes in the striped shadow here, and I'll also get into that in another video. All right, let's get into some key features from the ancient texts, the pyramid texts and stuff like that. The oldest text in the world, or some of the oldest text or hieroglyphs. Oh, Shu is the dry atmosphere, the mist, the moisture, and the clouds between the sky and the earth. And let me draw that for you, because this is the heaven or sky or dry air in the Milky Way center. And it's also the Atlantic Sea, but that's another story. So this is the still water, and the wild water is the striped shadow here, the river and stuff like that. So this is dry air and complete stillness, the atmosphere. And the heaven, the cloud, is also referred to as the bones of Shu. And of course it is, because the striped shadow here is the bones of Shu. And this is his spine, so to speak, because it's the same as the jet pillar and the spine of Osiris. So here we got one more spine, or the bones of Shu. Okay. And of course, Shu separates the sky, Nod, and the earth, Geb. And let me draw Nod first, because Nod is the shadow bending over here and protect it all. You can go watch more in my Nod video to get further details. And then of course we got Geb, which is the earth. And this is, let me try to find another color here, I'll take the white color. Geb is the same shadow, just, Nod is the shadow above the disc, and Geb is the dark shadows below the disc. And he looks like something like that, and he got his knee up here, and then he stretches out, and then he goes with his arm like this. You can see him. You can see Nod here. She is standing here, bending, and then Geb is this guy down here. You see, his posture is the shadow below the disc, and Nod is the shadow above. And here in the between, we got Shu holding it all up. And I actually draw it already, but let me see where the striped shadow and the central shadow X is the disc. In the disc, let me draw the disc so there's no confusion. This is the golden disc inside the Milky Way center. That's what it's all about. And inside the disc, we got the arms from Shu holding up the heavens. Okay. And I'll read on here. If Shu does not hold the sky and the earth apart, there will be no way for the physical manifestation or physical life. And now I won't spoil the drawing, but the physical life, the striped shadow here, it's always the indicator for physical life. That's the offspring from the big mess up there, the primordial waters. And if I mute the image for a moment here, or the paintings, you can see it's like the striped shadow is emanating from the disc light and, go away from the center of the whole thing. It runs off from the cloud in the sky. So that's it. Let's move on here. And then Shu is related to the Maat feather you see in the top of his head. Sorry, it's not very big down here, but oh, there. He got it on his head. I could also draw it for you here. It looks like something like this. And then it does like this, something like this. And then it got some feathers here. This feather is Maat, and it's related to Shu. And I'll tell you in a moment why. It's because the Maat, I do this because it's not Maat, but it's the, oh! I always forget to take the effects off. But it's the Maat feather is related to the same feather as Shu wears on his head, because it's here. I'll make the outline. Just follow the outlines of the shadow, and you got the feather here. And the lower part of the feather is, of course, the striped shadow, and the upper part, the arch, is, of course, the arch here of the heaven. So now you need that. Now you know that you don't need it. Oh well, you need air. Okay, and let me just point out, because this feather is always, by all the experts, is the ostrich feather. But it's not an ostrich feather. It's the feather in the Milky Way center. The striped shadow here is it's the hawk, the feather from the hawk, from the eagle, you name it. If you see a feather somewhere, that's it. The striped shadow here. Okay. And then Shu is related to the wind. And of course it is, because he starts the wind, of course. And let me draw. Here we got Shu holding up the sky. And the striped shadow here is, of course, the wind blowing. And the Egypt mythology is not the only system to use this as the wind. So of course Shu is related to the wind. He's not the wind. He's just related to it because it comes from his air. He created the space, and then we got the air, and then the wind comes after. And I'm sure there's a wind god in somewhere too. Okay. And then Shu also receives a lion head, or in some depictions he is depicted with a lion head. And the lion is here. This is the lion head. The disc in the Milky Way center is always, or everything related to lions is the disc in the Milky Way center. The golden lion, the greatest animal of them all in all myth. Maybe the tiger sometimes, but same. And let me see here if I got something. Yeah, and it's funny because it's not funny. It's a fact. Because Shu's twin sister and wife are both depicted with lion heads. She is always depicted with lion head, Tefnut, and Shu is only sometimes. But if you have seen some of my other videos, you will notice that the female shape is here. This is always the female. Now and she's always standing with crossed legs like this. And then you don't need to count more than 2 beans to figure out that the lion head of her is the disc in the Milky Way center. And that's how simple it is, and that's how simple it was for the Egyptians. To find out more about the genders of the mother and the father and the outcoming, you can go watch my Milky Way introduction video. And that's also why it's Shu's twin sister and wife. All this wife and sister and family things are pretty... it ruining a lot in the myth, because, yeah, it's not supposed to be there. But, if you have to put things in perspective, sometimes you use those terms. Okay, and by the way, that's all. Now you know where to find the... Let me draw him here for the last time, so you can see it. Here he's standing, Shu, holding up the heaven. And maybe somebody else who is also holding the heaven above. Yes, you're right. Atlas from Greek mythology is exactly the same stripe and the concept in the Milky Way center. And so, yeah, that's it. Now you know where to find Shu from ancient Egypt mythology. I hope you enjoyed this video. And otherwise, you will look at my next video. And until then, take care. Bye.